Hi, my name is Jeff Davies, and I'm the owner-operator of Cybernautic Studios here in Mesa, Arizona. I recently released a animation pack called the Standing Pack 1, which covers some very small animations, very useful when you're doing conversations, crowd movements where they're mostly standing still, that sort of thing. In this tutorial, I'm going to cover customizing those animations to meet your specific needs. Okay? So to get started, I do all of my set design and modeling in Blender. That's what you're looking at now. Don't worry if you're not a Blender user. I'm just going to give Blender users a couple of quick tips, and then we're going to be off into Icon doing the animation. Most important thing on this back wall here, I do have a cutter to cut out the opening for this elevator. When you apply the cutter, you do that, that's fine, you see the cutter here. But what you want to do is go back onto the wall that you cut and add a modifier to it. You want to add the triangulate modifier. The reason is, if you just apply the cutter and you do not add a triangulate modifier, when you import this into Icon, Icon is not going to show the cut. It's going to show a gray area with some face fighting. So always apply the triangulate. Next, when you're exporting a set for use in Icon where you're going to do your animations, you only want to export the stuff that you need for the animation itself. And that is the floor and the wall and the elevator car. And that's pretty much it. You don't have to worry about the doors because we need to have the doors open so we can see what we're doing here. From here, File, Export, FBX. Most important thing, selected objects. Click the limit to selected objects. You don't want to export anything else. I called it elevator set.fbx. It'll overwrite that. Everything else should be fine by default. Z forward, Y up is a proper orientation for an FBX file. In Blender, it's always X goes left, right, Y is forward and back, and Z is up. This will make the adjustments for you automatically. The defaults should work fine. Most important thing is just selected objects. We'll say export. And we are done in Blender. So now let's switch over to Icon. So here in Icon, the first thing we're going to want to do is import our set. Once again, if you're not using Blender, then you just create your set as you normally would. I tend to like to break up the meshes because sometimes I need to hide pieces of them. It's up to you. I'm going to say yes for this because it's pretty simple. Let's see here. I'm going to zoom on in. I'm going to adjust things a little bit so we're looking at it fairly straight on. This is my main camera for just the shot. I leave the preview. I always create an extra camera. In your camera, it's created, of course, right where the preview is. But for the camera itself, I'm going to go to Scene. I'm going to rename it Shot Cam, and I'm going to lock it down so I don't screw it up. Now, first thing we're going to need is an actor. So we go to Content. We go to our actors. Where are we here? We can see actor. We're going to scroll down to motion dummy. I like the motion dummies for this because they really show the animation really well. I'm going to plop him right in the middle. Okay. Jump back to my preview cam. We could move things around a little bit. I'm going to zoom in. Now we're going to use our custom animations. We go to Animations, Custom, scroll down to the Standing Pack 1, and I'm going to use the Sidestep Right. So I'm going to scroll down to find that. Sidestep Right Large. Now I'm deliberately choosing this one because it's inappropriate for use in an elevator, and I'll show you what I mean. So I want to show you how to modify these animations. so they meet your specific needs. Now, this particular one still has the T-pose off the very beginning. So I'm going to go to the second frame, 2. All right, great. We'll get rid of that one. And that leaves us with just the animation we really want. Now, I'm going to hold down the Alt key and scroll with the mouse so we can see a little more of this. I played the animation. He does a large side step to his right, but you can see it's really large. It's a little too large to be appropriate for use in an elevator. So that's what we're going to tweak. So to tweak that, we're just going to play through, and we're going to look for that right leg where it hits the top. You see there it's going down. I'm going to hit back key a couple times, and that's what I call 344 the apex of that animation. I don't want them to step quite that far. So now we're going to go to our animation, motion layer, and what I want to do is really just kind of minimize that. I don't want to lift that leg that high. I want it to lift about the maximum right there. Then I'm going to scrub through the rest of this. And I think that maybe it's supposed to be a large side step, so I'll leave it at that. But if I wanted to, I could bring it in a tad. All right, so he comes down. And then you notice as he recovers, things are wonky, right? He's squatting, it's not right. And he's squatting because we dragged that foot down. So what we want to do is when this foot comes over and gets planted, I don't want it right next to that. I want it, whoops. Control Z that. Let's go grab the other foot. I want this foot over here a little more. Let's see how that looks now. Okay. Better, but now you see he squats down before he takes his big step. So here, when he's at his lowest, Control Z, we're going to grab his pelvis and stand him up a little bit. Not totally straight. He needs to have his knees bent. Okay, so now he steps. So the foot recovers. And let's see, I think he's over a little too far to his right. So we're going to move this pelvis just a hair. Okay. Now, the reason he stepped right is because there's going to be another person behind him. You'll see it on the demo video for the pad that's going to step out. Okay, so that's fine for modifying the existing animations that you've got. It gives you an idea how to do it. But these animations are all for the lower body. Maybe you want the upper body to be doing something while that animation is playing. So let's take a look. I want them to step over, do this, and then I want them to play a standard animation right about here at 460. So we go back to template, and we go to animations, motions. Let's see here. Let's do character, sorry. Animation, motion. Let's do a male moving. I don't want him to walk. No. Do the male idle, breathe, relax. How about perform? All right, let's have him talk seriously. Now, when we do this, we're going to use the pose mixer because I don't want the poses, its motions, to affect anything other than I really just want to affect his arms, hands, head. I don't want it to affect his chest that much. I don't want it to affect his stance that much either, okay? Because I want it to overlay this part of the animation. So with this masked out, we can grab Talk Serious, pop it onto him, and at first, all looks well. But if we start to scroll through, you'll see he's sliding again. iClone does this a ton. I'm sure they have their reasons for doing it. I find it really annoying. So what I want to do is take this Talk Serious clip, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to align the whole clip with, let's say, the right foot, the foot that he stepped over. Okay? So now he steps over, and his right foot keeps things where they should be, and he does his animation just fine. We've got it mixed. At this point, we can go ahead and decide where we want to set the out frame. I'll set it at 1,000 just arbitrarily. Set our out, and we're ready to record this animation. Now, what I would do, because I normally render also in Blender, I do my final renders there, I need to export this character, and I would just say File, Export, FBX. I want to set it for Blender. Oops, not Motion Builder, but Blender. I don't check embed textures. I want the textures held separately. There is a lot of upside to that. You can edit them later on if you need to. You got to be careful doing that because you're modifying a texture after it's been generated, so there's no going back. There's no round trip. If you go back to the source to make changes, you're going to have to re-edit that texture if you regenerate it. And then here I would just say export, and I would export my particular actor for that shot. And that's it. It's just that simple. Between using the base animation, using Pose Mixer, and knowing how to link those clips up, you have a tremendous amount of control with this pack to have your characters behave in a more normal manner. Very rarely do we run around and tackle people. Very rarely do we do ninja moves and things like that in the real world. But very often, you have a character that's going to need to turn 30 degrees. Or you have a character that needs to turn right 180 degrees in place, not walking, just standing in place, talking to people around them, maybe looking at something, turning around and walking off. These are the tools you'll use to accomplish that, and I hope you really enjoy the Standing Pack 1. It's my first contribution to the Reallusion sort of community. I hope you find it useful, and I always welcome comments, and especially some reviews would be good on the product. Okay? Thanks, guys. Bye.